Well, let's talk more about vaccines now. On Saturday night, the SA Health Product Regulatory Authority said the Johnson & Johnson vaccine can be used again as part of that Sisonke study. Last week, the Health Minister, Dr. Jeffery Mphahlele, announced that they would pause the use of the vaccine after 6 cases of a rare blood clot disorder were reported in the United States after 6.6 million doses of the disease had been administered there. Professor Jeffery Mphahlele is the Vice President for Research at the South African Medical Research Council. Professor Mphahlele, good afternoon to you. I need to start here, of course. Do you agree with the decision by SAHPRA to start allowing the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine again?
Good afternoon, Stephen. Thanks for having me. I agree with the decision by SAHPRA because the reason there was a pause, and there's still a pause, of course, from the National Department of Health. But the main reason why we have got this pause is to allow investigation. So the SAHPRA has looked at the database from Sisonke trial, and they are satisfied that at this stage there isn't anything really to be very concerned about in terms of adverse events to the vaccine.
I mean, in a way, the whole issue is really about the amount of data that we have. So, do you believe that we have enough data to make these decisions about this vaccine? And it's an incredibly complex period. Everybody's banging on your door saying, we need a vaccine, we need one that works, we need it against the variant that's currently dominant in our country. At the same time, it's a unique situation. We're vaccinating adults with a vaccine that's been developed literally in the last 12 months.
Well, in terms of the vaccine itself, there's no question to doubt whether the vaccine is of good quality or not. I think the question might be, do we have enough safety data in South Africa? Because if you look at the cases that were reported from the US, you've got 6 cases against almost 7 million doses that were administered. And in our case, for Sisonke study, we are talking about just under 300 doses that were administered. So it is possible that even if this is being a rare adverse event, if it has to happen in our setting, we have administered very few cases. Very few doses, of the vaccine to allow us to pick up such a very rare, adverse event. So in a way, one can say that we do have data because we rely on the participants to report on the adverse events. But clearly, the doses that we have administered are not enough to justify or maybe to allow us to pick up such a rare adverse event.
What kind of information do you think we might still need around the vaccine? I mean, obviously, the amount of brain power that will be focusing on this vaccine here and around the world, the United States, elsewhere, I mean, it's utterly immense. Is there a specific area of research, you think, a specific place, a specific area of research we need to focus on when it comes to this vaccine at the moment? Is it even possible to know?
Well, at the moment, I think the most important thing is really to monitor the adverse events that are reported by those who are receiving the vaccine, because we know that there's millions and millions of the vaccine is being given to people. Obviously, we should be able to pick up rare adverse events that were not able to be reported during clinical trial testing. So we need that. And we also need, I would say, second-generation vaccines, because the vaccines that we have, even if it's not the J&J vaccine, all vaccines that we have at the moment, being first-generation vaccines, they are not really, perfect vaccines. They don't answer all the questions that we have. There are still a lot of scientific questions that we are not able to answer with the current vaccines.
We've got the Pfizer vaccine as well, of course, that's going to be used here. Are you conducting your own studies on that? There'll be also a huge amount of research being done around the world on the Pfizer vaccine.
At the moment, I don't think there is any clinical trial or any form of study that is conducted with the Pfizer vaccine. But we know that we have done clinical trials in the past, and I also know that in fact some of the participants who participated in the previous clinical trial that took place in 2020, they were followed up, and they were actually evaluated to assess whether they did get any breakthrough infections when we first had a variant in South Africa circulating, and it appears that none of them actually experienced this 501YV2 variant. So it looks like the Pfizer vaccine is protective in our clinical setting, but obviously this is limited data once again, because 800 samples are not just good enough, robust enough to make any concrete conclusion.
Professor Jeffery Mphahlele, thanks very much indeed, Vice President for Research at the South African Medical Research Council. Really do appreciate the time this afternoon.